Back on that, I don't think there is room for kind of like AI, entirely AI artists to come in and like swoop up what little there is of the pie left from people that are genuinely making like art for art's sake.
Well said, and that is 100% agree with that. All right, check it out. I'm up and running with OBS. My first reaction video. Look, the video right there. I see other people doing these, and I watch them, and I'm interested. So I thought, why don't I do one? Me and Zimmy. So I'm reacting to Carrier, Guy Brewer, aka Carrier, talking to Scuba. This interview came out recently. I saw a Carrier live set back in May in Strange Brew at the Probe, Carrier, and Lynn. Lynn's a DJ. She was playing last that night. I didn't catch her set because I was too tired, but I did catch all of, or most of, Carrier's set, which was very spacious dub in between tempos. Kept my attention quite locked in for quite a while, but then I did drift off. I don't know exactly why, but I can't recall exactly any memorable melodies. And I think for me, if there's a brilliant sound design and brilliant rhythms, then it's great and it can go so far, but without memorable melodies, it's hard to recall after. Just for me, but the sound was incredible. It was a great night in Strange Brew. So I watched this interview to see what Guy Brewer was saying. Let me play the beginning bit.
Carrier, welcome to the show. How you doing?
Thanks for having me back again.
Well, say welcome back. But previously you were not listed as Carrier.
He was shifted before. So he talks about doing a project for 10 years and then burning it down and starting a new one. Just to like sum it up, really. Scuba says he has not done that. He's kept the name Scuba and he's put out loads of different music. And now it's really hard for people to know what Scuba's going to put out. I relate to that. That's what I've done with Zoid. I've put out loads of different kinds of music under the name Zoid. So, people better expect the unexpected. And that's what my favorite artists do too. Apex, Square Pusher, Bogdan Rudzinski, Luke Fiber. Everything they do sounds like them, but they're not constrained into one sound or genre or style. So, these days it does work well to be very focused with a name and a very focused style, but it's just not for me. Can't do it. Respect people who can. Well done. And then, so fast forward a bit.
You shifted or thrown myself like completely into this, which is actually what ended up happening in the end. I think I seem to go in like 10-year cycles.
Yes, as I was mentioning. Okay, so like they talk about influences
set up. You are absolutely rewarded for being, having a project that is very, very focused music.
Again, I reacted to that before you said it.
Like most of us, an obsessive over music, and I've always kind of admired these kind of catalogs that are very concise and very purposeful, like if you look at someone's discogs and you can kind of chart the progression of an artist, but they don't veer off into some kind of completely random territory or
whoops, that's what I do. Veer off here, veer off there, random. I'm all over the shop and I don't care. So
I suppose like the influences attached to it as well, it's quite different.
Oh, absolutely is. Yeah, I think
he listens to a lot of different things and they discuss influences. And
I suppose I started to feel like I wasn't representing that, or
kind of got bored this part of the interview where who really cares about picking apart all this stuff. Maybe some people do, but I just was like kind of
a certain area of like dubstep and bass music, for want of a better word, etc.
Boring. Okay, so fast forward a bit, genre ambiguity. He talks about going for a tempo that's kind of in between it's 150-ish. It's faster than most techno. It's slower than drum and bass. And in any kind of music, when you hear people pick apart the technicalities of it, if it's jazz musicians talking about why they have a D minor 9 with an 11 on there, and then they do what they do on the G7, that is maybe interesting for a small number of people who are like really trying to do what they're doing and they're interested in all those technicalities. But for the general public, and I feel like I listened to the interview more as just a general person who's interested rather than as a music producer, then it's just boring to listen to. It makes me think that if I ever get interviewed, I don't want to talk about that stuff. More important stuff to talk about. Later on, they do get into some.
Generally speaking, I'm not saying it's necessarily got better particularly, but it has changed a bit since then.
Yeah, I mean, I would put the kind of industry and the kind of creative output of that in kind of different boxes. I actually think that there is so much exciting music coming out now, perhaps more than there ever has been.
Interesting to say that. Yes, there's loads of interesting music. There's loads of really good and creative music coming out now, more than ever. More people making it, so why not more good? But it comes out and then it disappears, and it just gets added to the pile over and over and over. So it's hard for anyone to sustain a livelihood.
Opened up a lot of room for experimentation with things that sit on the periphery of either thing, which is kind of where I would place myself.
I relate to that too. The periphery of techno and jazz is where I want to live.
And now you've got kind of like burgeoning scenes coming out of these places that are coming out with very exciting, fresh sounding music.
Good.
So many different options. And that is very exciting. I think at the same time, like it kind of, I think the skill set like involved with making music has perhaps been eroded by that.
Okay, yes, I agree with that. Skill set's been eroded because it's easier to make something now which sounds a bit like something that gets released, but the bar is just constantly being reset. And I see it all the time in other fields as well. Like I've been watching skateboarding videos and you see little 7-year-old kids doing 360 flips and downstairs, and what you see skaters doing things now that when I was a skateboarder in the 90s as a teenager were unfathomable. You couldn't fathom how common and normal it would be for people to do these things now. This is how everything progresses and evolves, and music has done it too. So now, just like sticking out a techno track that would have been quite a good one in 1996, now that's just like anyone can do it. It's not interesting. It's not special. So what is interesting and special now is the question, is like, is it possible for someone to come up with something that is actually special? And when they start talking about AI, then this is important. So this section's good.
Like if you're not hearing what you want to hear, get in a studio and make it,
Yep.
And this.
Yeah, I've always done that. I've always listened to music and then I've thought like, yeah, I love what Aphex is doing, but what if there was like a jazz version of IDM that, or what if there was a techno track that had something that I've never heard will occur to me, and then I do go and I try to make that thing. I like that approach. Kind of, it's like reacting to things that you hear, and everyone's doing it to some extent, I think.
That attitude works to a certain extent, basically. Not always.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, absolutely. I mean, I don't know. It is a strange time, because I think you're absolutely right to say that there is. I mean, I suppose just by definition, the amount of music that comes out, there will just be a lot of good music there.
Yeah. Just said that. Okay.
And I think there's so much kind of, you're right, there's so much kind of negativity in the moment. People are complaining so much, and I think people are basically scared, or
I think people are interested in like the character around the music, and actually almost like the personality where it comes from as well. I think that's...
Yes, very true. And he was saying AI, when it first came out, he was like, you can't really do anything too special, but as it gets better and better, it becomes a bit more like, whoa. He says if he was making music that was like background music for adverts or music for video games, then he'd be worried, but he's not doing that. Neither am I. I'm not doing that, so I'm not worried. So there's no, when Suno first started getting big, I remember going on there and I was like prompting Detroit techno with an affixy acid tinge, and it's putting out something that's so far away from what those words mean that it's like laughable. It's just like, well, I can't even do it. And the reason is because the data set that it's trained on doesn't include those things, because those things are too small and niche. It's going to be trained on a data set that is got a large amount of similar material, like country music, like pop music, those genres. So if you're making music that fits right in there with all the other country stuff that sounds the same, then yeah, AI can just easily replicate what you do. I've been saying this and posting about it. There are millions of people who have been listening to Spotify playlists and without caring who the artists are, and they just want something that chill, whatever, just put on something that helps me study or is good in the background. And for those people, they could be listening to AI generated stuff. They don't care. Our Spotify's been, if not using AI, then they've been doing what they call, what was their acronym? Spotify, it was like perfect fit content, PFC. So they've been creating this music themselves, paying musicians to go into a studio and record bland background, just music that they can put in their playlists that they own, so that they don't have to pay royalties on it. The managers in Spotify are like, PFC, fill the playlists with PFC, so that all the millions and millions of plays they get, they don't have to pay royalties, and it helps their bottom line. Which that's just, that's why I cancelled my premium subscription to Spotify that I had for years, because, liked the interface. But eventually I was just like, no, I'm not going to give Spotify money, especially because they do other heinous stuff as well, like the AI drone weapon technology stuff and whatever. There's just too many reasons not to give them money. But anyway, back to the people. I mean, before Spotify, these people probably existed and just put on the radio and just didn't care who the artist was. They probably existed before as well. But now it's hard to know how many people there are like that, but certainly millions. And you can see Suno is doing well. It has many subscribers subscribing to them to make music, and other people like listening to it. And don't worry about those people. If you are like me, if you are one of those people who are different to that, there will also be millions of people who are searching for connection, connecting to someone and something that is made with pure heart and is something that is, I will say, the best music and the best art, the best stories, the best film, the best books come from beyond the human realm, which you can take it literally or figuratively. If you take it, I do literally believe that it's coming from somewhere else that's not human, another realm altogether. And it just somehow some people can tune in, and that's what Aphex is doing, tuning into getting these melodies from somewhere that's beyond the human realm. But there's no way to prove or know that. And if you want to take it figuratively, then yeah, it's just from some depth of the human consciousness, the human subconscious maybe, that's so deep that some people are able to dig right down and get something out that's very special. So it doesn't matter one or the other. But the AI, it can't get anywhere. It's light years away from anything like that. It's just taking a bunch of superficial, what we've done before. That's the output of all this inner work. It's just the output. It's not that important. It just takes the output and just scrambles it up and goes, blah, here's a new version. So what? You've heard it before. You're not going to connect with anything that way. Whereas innovating something new, only a human can do that. Some going into some other state altogether and generating something that has real meaning for that person, real emotions. Some kind of frequency is going on in that person. It's inner work. That's what it is. If you want to produce some great artwork, inner work. It's not about the technique. It's not about how good you are at working plugins as a producer. It's about something else that's hard to describe. But yeah, it's a deep, deep work. Anyway, let's go on with the interview.
When it first started rearing its head, I wasn't so concerned about it.
Yeah, me neither.
Thought to myself, that there's no kind of way of replicating the kind of humanity and like the creative process that goes into something. And certainly like the first things that I heard that were like AI produced, that kind of backed up that point of view.
Yeah, because it was just like...
And you'd be like, you can just hear that there is something like missing.
Yeah.
But then sometimes you hear something and you're like, damn, like the smarter it gets, the more worrying it is. And I suppose it's more about how this is kind of like implemented. I think if you're making music for computer games, if you're making kind of like background music for like, adverts or whatever,
then, oh no.
I'd be extremely worried right now. Sure. I think when it comes to someone like myself or yourself, or like, I think people are interested in like the character around the music and actually almost like the personality where it comes from as well. I think that's part and parcel of it now. In this day and age, we were like a long way away from kind of like anonymous white label territory, or just going into a record shop and not knowing who made a record. Now you like, the first thing that I do when I discover an artist that I'm into, I'm like, I will check out their socials. I don't know why I do that, but I do. Like you give it a follow because you want to like keep up with what they're doing, etc. And I think that's like important today. And I think people still want that. They still want to. I think the kind of personality aspect of like where music comes from and what life or experiences that person might have had to lead them up to the point of making this art, basically, I think is still an important thing. Like,
absolutely.
Will it be in 2-3 generations time? I have no idea. But by that point, like, it certainly won't matter for me anymore. But yeah, like, what will it look like in 50, 100 years? I have no clue. But like talking about like the next couple of decades, I think there's still obviously room for. Let me step back on that. I don't think there is room for kind of like AI, entirely AI artists to come in and like swoop up what little there is of the pie left from people that are genuinely making like art for art's sake.
Well said. And that is 100% agree with that. That's another way of saying what I was saying about making art. Only humans can do it. And there will be people who are seeking it out and looking for it. And unfortunately, it is a small pie, like he says. So there may not be many people who can make a living out of doing it, but that's the reality, and there is a meaning and purpose to doing it, even if you don't make money out of it. That it's like climbing mountains or skateboarding. Most people are just going to do it because it's super enjoyable. It gives meaning to their life. Most people aren't set on a career on mountain climbing or a career in skateboarding. Some people do. Some people, the very tippy top of those fields, they do make money out of it, but the vast majority don't. And it doesn't diminish, for 99% of the skateboarders in the world. It doesn't diminish their love of skateboarding. It's not their career. This is the same for music and music making. This part of the interview I really related to and connected with, and I love what he's saying. I haven't finished listening to the rest yet, but I highly recommend checking it out. I really like Music Not Diving. Scuba's interviews are great. Really interesting guests. So check out his music. I probably need to have a listen deeper into what he's doing. I haven't really spent the time to get into it. So let me know what you think of this format of video. Was it good? Subscribe, leave a comment. Should I make more? I probably will, even if you say no, because you put a video up and it gives you thoughts to respond to. It's much easier than just talking to a camera. Is that why it's good? Is that why people do it? I don't know. But are people interested in what I have to say? Let's see. So that's my video for this week. And I did go to America last week, so maybe I'll make a video about what I got up to. I'm not sure. Some little snippets I put out. But anyway, I'm back into it now. I'm back into the making music. I got my membership that is at a very special price. Link below to that. It's only till the end of the month, and then it's going to all change. So if you want to jump in, very early bird offer on that. You get all my courses, £37 a month, and some other stuff, sessions, monthly feedback sessions, and Discord community access. All right. I will see you in another video.